mind sharing some of the stuff that you've had to overcome, just so that we can kind of feel like what is possible for all of us? Because I see you as such an example of a beacon of light. You helped actually organize this whole thing, right? Can we give it up for him? She, then everything. And I remember when we first met, we met at a Goodwill. And then we were like, oh my god, another Gaysian with energy. Oh my god! Amazing. And then we started talking, and the story of what you've had to overcome to be here and who you are today, I think is so inspiring and worthy of note. If you would like to share, we'd love to give you an opportunity. If not, you can ask Patria. It is an incredible story. So, up to you. You got a minute.
I mean, pretty much, that's my mind on a daily basis. It's No, seriously though. It's like the intensity of how the mind works, like it's unfathomable. You don't really, it's like, no, just like diagnosis in general is not a concrete, like, factual thing. It's so nuanced. But for myself, being, it's the mere fact that I'm standing is a gift in its own right because of I'm a suicide survivor. And, I did the act of, I almost didn't survive. I was in a wheelchair. It was very debilitating, and just the mere fact that I could wear cute boots, and prance around and dance, and that's incredible on its own right. You know what I mean? So from from a wheelchair to 300 plus pounds to all this, that, and it's just like it's a very arduous and incredible journey. In retrospect, I'm just like, wow, I'm blown away every time. I'm just grateful. Because it just, it's grounding to know where I've come from and where I am now. And what the future may hold. Who knows? But,
And now you're hopeful and a community leader for us. I think it's really worthy of note. And we thank you. We all thank you so much for your work. I gotta move it along. I love you. Okay, good. All right. Okay. Next, we got Danielle Brahinsky talking about medication stigma.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute honor to be here amongst my fellow peer support specialists and our supervisor and amongst all of our NAMI leadership and my family and my friends. And I just want to say how unbelievably grateful I am to be a part of NAMI, and I've been grateful ever since I started. Like Patria, I started within our own voice 5 years ago, and to be able to present my story and to know that my lived experience, being somebody who has bipolar 1 and OCD, 2 major mental illnesses, and to have worked with them day in and day out, thought to thought, and really not overcome because you recover, but you never actually recover. You're in a process you're in a journey of recovery. And the fact that I'm stable, that I have never had another psychotic break since the first one I had when I was 18. I do want to talk about medication, but I want to talk about what it is that really brought all of us together. It is such an honor. I know I keep saying it's an honor, but it really is a tremendous honor to be amongst these people, because we all care about each other so much, and we care about every single human being who calls the Warmline. And what we do is we answer the Warmline, everybody who calls with any kind of mental struggle or difficulty, and we help them through it based on our lived experience. And to know that what I went through myself, what I struggled through, everything, the chaos, the nightmare, the everything. I broke my nose. There were horrible things that can happen. I failed out of law school. You name it, it happened. But the fact that what I learned and how I learned to be stable and how I learned to be somebody who can succeed and do well and be a speaker and a leader and somebody who can show others how I was able to become well, I then was able to transmute that to my daughter, who also has mental illness. And it's very difficult for me to talk about. I didn't start until my boss at NAMI told me when I started doing English Sounds presentations, said, you know what, you can tell the story of being a parent and having a loved one. And I hate to say it, but every member of my family has some form of mental illness. And it is painful being a loved one who sees it, but knowing that I'm somebody who has overcome so much, the opportunity to teach others is a privilege, because it means that I am making use of my time in a way that's helping people. And I can't think of anything better to do than that. I can't think of other people in my life I'd rather do it with than these individuals. You're going to learn their story, and it's going to blow you away, just like theirs blows me away every minute I hear it and every time. And I really want to thank our leaders, because they lead the way and have given me this opportunity. My daughter, she's autistic, mild to moderate, but she also has child apraxia. And apraxia is when the brain does not send signals to the muscles in the mouth to speak. And in order to speak, you have to learn how to speak I don't know if anybody knows it, but being able to speak, period, is an absolute miracle. And I know this because I've seen every step of the way. And I'm that mother who has been in every minute since my daughter was a year and a half, and her wonderful pediatrician told me, you need to focus on her speech. And every birthday of hers, I prayed, I said, oh God, please let this be the time that she speaks. And what ended up happening is that when she turned 5, I went to the apraxia conference, and I learned that children who have childhood apraxia do indeed speak if they're intelligent enough. And my husband is probably the most wonderful man I know right there, Aiden Brahinsky. And he has, with him, I am proud to say that my daughter now at 5 has just started speaking. And it's because of all the support we've gotten from Jason, from my parents, from Candy, who I love, and her husband Scott, and just my friends have been unbelievable, Rachel and Jen and Selena. And anyway, I do want to talk about medication. I don't know how much time I have, but...
A couple minutes.
Okay. But, my daughter and I would not be able to succeed at anything without medication, and there is so much stigma with medication, and there is no right or wrong answer. There are people who can have serious mental illness and survive and do okay with other forms, but for me, I know that for me, I have never been hospitalized, and I have both bipolar 1 and OCD and a learning disability. I have never been hospitalized, and I believe 50% of the reason for that is because I have a fighting chance because I take my medication. And the way to do it is you have to do it slowly, titrate slowly to find out exactly if you're getting a side effect. If you're getting a side effect that cannot be tolerated, blindness, don't do it. You get a side effect like dry mouth, I can handle dry mouth. I can handle a lot of things. And I don't pay attention to side effects, and I know another peer support specialist who tells me they do the same thing. So anyway, I just want to say how grateful I am, and how grateful I am to NAMI and to CalHOPE and to our team, and to anybody who has any struggle whatsoever with mental illness. Please come to us. We are here to help you, and we really care. We honestly care, and that's what NAMI is all about. They care, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you for your, and thank you to your husband also. He did not like that, but yay for you. And you're amazing. Thank you. I always see you and you're always like, hug me, like, oh. Yeah. So thank you so much for your loving nature. And okay, great, moving on. All right, so this person is, I just met him, but he's wonderful energy. And we're to talk about impactful Warmline calls. We've got James Wolff.
Hi, everyone. I'm a pretty quiet and private and introverted person. This is bordering on too many people. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I love people. That's why I do this job. So originally I was going to talk about the intersection of public policy and mental health. Would that bore everyone? With maybe the exception of me and like one other person. So I decided, whatever. Let's do something more interesting, much more relevant to the evening, which is we get hard calls. I think all 6 of us have fielded hard calls, and they range from being just really emotionally charged to being a bit more than that. It's amazing that somebody will get on the phone with us. They don't know us. They've never met us. They have no reason to trust us. We have NAMI next to our name, and they call us. And they tell us things that they don't even tell their closest loved ones. So it's pretty amazing what a phone line can do for a lot of these people. And there's 2 calls. One happened last week, which was pretty intense. We got a distressing email from a help seeker. I've known this person for several months now. And she was in the midst of a psychotic episode. And coming off of 3 weeks of, 2.5 weeks of being high on multiple substances. And she trusted us enough to send us an email. And so we started to address it as fast as possible. And even though I was the one on the call, Dawnel was there the entire time. And if I needed extra help, I could have asked the team. Thankfully, it didn't get to that point. But this call was difficult. It was a little bit more difficult than most other calls because it was to the point where we had exhausted all of our resources. And that's tough, because we're all empaths here. We all want to help. So it's really, really hard to help someone who's in a really deep state. However, it's better that they reach out. That's better that this person reached out. Because she could have died that night. Pretty amazing that somebody's going to call us, email us, and say, I'm gonna film my suicide and put it online. That's a tough call. Honestly, but the fact that this person trusted us enough to call, to contact us, goes to show the credibility that NAMI has as an organization. It's the credibility that all NAMI people have provided, not just us peer support specialists. So now she's alive. She's more stable, thankfully. We had to refer to 988 last night. So that's one hard call, and it's amazing that somebody would trust us with that sort of situation. Another sort of hard call we get, it's more of a genre of call than a specific one that I'm going to recall, which is family members. We regularly get family members who say, I don't know where my child is. I haven't seen them in 10 years. And that is tough. I'm not a parent. We have parents on here. Can you imagine not knowing where your kids were for 10 years?
Oh, my daughter's here.
Right, exactly. She's right over there. So that's another type of hard call, and goes to show the trust that people have in NAMI, that they're willing to say, I don't know where my kid is. And it's amazing when people tell us this, because it goes to show how trustworthy NAMI calls. And it goes to show that people actually benefit from our services. So if you know anyone who's having a situation like the first caller, I think you have them call 988. 911, more likely. And the other thing is, with regards to the family calls, those are tough. Because there's not a whole lot we can do except for listen. And say, go to these family support groups. And it's really interesting. They'll tell people to go to family support groups. And they're going, no, what is it going to do? Not much. And guess what? They come back to us and they say, wow, you've saved my relationship with my child. So those are the two types of calls I wanted to share with y'all.
We have a couple more minutes, so I actually have a follow-up. May I ask a question?
Of course. You're the one that's supposed to be asking questions.
Okay, great. What do you do with those calls where there is, like, I don't know where my kid is, right? And those are situations in which it is like an impossible situation, right? You can't, there's nothing practical, like, you know, what, you can't help them find their kid. So how do you support people through that emotional process in a situation like that?
Two things. One, people come thinking that it's their fault. And so just telling people, no, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's genetic lottery, this person got this illness, somebody gave them something they shouldn't have had, triggers a psychotic episode. So just convincing people that it's not their fault is step one. Step two for those calls is saying, go to a NAMI support group. There's a lot of parents and family members who've gone through that exact situation. I'm a peer support specialist. I live with mental illness. I'm not a fan. Actually, I have a lot of family who are mentally ill. So, like Danielle, I don't think there's a single family member. I was once asked by a therapist, do you think your family dislikes being mentally ill? And I said, no, I think they rather enjoy it. It gives them the ability to say certain things that they wouldn't otherwise be able to say in polite society. So, I don't know if that answers your question, but step one is saying, no, it's not your fault. Step two is go to a NAMI support group because there's other people going through that same situation.
One more question.
Go ahead.
That and thank you for that answer. How do you advocate for you know, because a lot of people feel like, you know, when they're mentally ill, like it's my fault, you know, or it's my fault that my family's X, Y, and Z or whatever. Like, and how do you advocate for people to love themselves even when it feels hard to do it?
This is an exceptional question because I think it's a different answer for every person. I come from a very high-strung, high-performing family. We're talking about people graduating the top of class of Harvard, Yale, Stanford. And I almost flunked out of high school twice. Yeah, like, that's not going to be the same conversation as somebody who's like, yeah, I just didn't want to go to school. And so I think everyone is different. The thing that is universal, though, is to remind people they are loved. It is really, really important to tell people somebody loves you in this world. And if somebody doesn't love you yet, love you now, it's not because you'll never be loved, it's because it's a yet, right? Somebody will love you eventually. And that's another message I have to get along to them. Actually, to Danielle's credit, Danielle's like, oh, let's always have a group hug. I'm a person who doesn't like being touched, right? And so, but I appreciate the measure. All right, see, point proven, right? Point proven. Right? Point proven. Okay, but to answer your question, it's actually kind of goes to what you're saying about yay, right? Getting people to love even the darkest parts of themselves is a daily, hourly, minutely. Is minutely a word? I don't know. Doesn't matter. we'll make it a word for now. For now, it's a word. I have to be conscientious of the time. But it's just getting people to the place where they can recognize they're valuable. I didn't disclose my diagnoses. I'm a little, like I said, I'm a private person, but I've had some pretty awful depressive episodes. And those aren't pleasant, putting it mildly. And, you know, people expressed to me that I mattered, I'm valuable. So I didn't end my life. So reminding people they have value, regardless of who they are, what they've done in their life, they have value.
Thank you for that. And you're certainly valuable to Danielle. I'm just kidding. Okay, good. All right, moving on. Husband's right there. We better move on. Okay, good. So our next speaker is Randal McKoy, and we're going to talk about how traveling and one's environment can affect mental health. Thank you. Yahoo.
Testing, testing, testing. Hear that deep Barry White voice going on. But I'll start by saying, as you know, feeling so much positive energy right now with my peers, and I think my mind goes back to the tough times, the difficult times. I grew up in a very religious home. My father was a bishop since I was a little boy, pastoring churches across the world, and growing up in an environment like that with strong expectations, with a strong father who was well known throughout the community, throughout the world, puts a lot of pressure on you to, as my friend here, high-strung family of succeeding people who are doing great things, to be the same, to do the same, to talk the same, to walk in your father's footsteps. There was a lot of pressure on me from a young age to succeed and be this great man, this great person in society. But I noticed as I got into my teenage years, anxiety, and the way I express anxiety is never-ending fast thoughts. I don't know if anyone in here knows what that feels like. There is no peaceful thought. There is like, your mind is going 100 miles per hour and there is no calm. You can't even find a calm. It doesn't matter if you're sitting on the beach, your mind is going 100 miles per hour. That's how it felt for me to deal with anxiety. And that pressure forced me not to be able to focus, whether in school, whether on the job, whatever I was doing. The inability to really lock in and focus was really my day-to-day life. But I noticed something. As I began to leave that environment and I began to pursue my dreams and my heart and what was in myself to achieve, I noticed that my life immediately began to change as I left my comfort zone, left the expectations of me, left what dad wanted me to be and mom, and stepped out into the world that I wanted to pursue. I noticed quickly, and as my friend, I didn't tell you my diagnosis, but I noticed that without that and without medication, my life began to change just by small steps in changing my surroundings. Things began to shift for me. And I'll talk more about that, but the power of your environment, and some of you in this room right now, it even boils down just to a color. Some of you just love the color blue. Some of you just love to see the sun come through your room, and you notice that your mood will change. Environment is so essential to how we feel and to how we think. And for me, that was the true journey to healing, was a change of environment, a change from the pressure, a change from the expectations, and walking in my truth and where I needed to be. So I'll stop.